So what's a pivot? A pivot is basically a change in strategy, right? So with the car analogy, when you're driving the car down the road and you come to a detour, the detour takes you into another direction. When you go into that other direction, that's called a pivot. So what does that mean for your business? That means when you have your business and you're going and you realize, hey, the strategy that I'm using is not really working. I'm going to change directions and go into I'm going to change course and go into another direction, right?
What's up, fam? Before we get into today's episode, I want you to go check out our website at www.igotdreamspodcast.com and subscribe to our emailing list. We are creating the ultimate accountability group for entrepreneurs. So if you are an entrepreneur, if you are a business leader, if you are a dreamer, we want you to be a part of our group. All you got to do is go to www.igotdreamspodcast.com and subscribe to our emailing list, and we'll take it from there. This thing is going to be bigger than us, and we want you to be a part of it. Again, go to www.igotdreamspodcast.com and subscribe to our emailing list. Now, let's get back to the show.
I'm just go ahead and jump into it, man, and we're gonna learn this thing together. So basically what I got from this book, I got three main points from the first chapter. And the first chapter is called Vision, right? So basically the book um, said that entrepreneurship is management, right? That's on page 15. So this book actually compares entrepreneurship to the modern day management and technology. So unlike in the old days, right? And the book mentions this example as well. So imagine that you are an employee, right? And your manager asks you to create a product that's going to create new customers for the business and also generate new revenue for the business. And so you create this product, and let's say the project lasts a year, right? So the project lasted a year, and at the end of the year, you go back to your manager and say, "Man, we didn't complete it. Like, we didn't reach our goal. We launched this product, we didn't we didn't get any new customers and we didn't create a new revenue stream. Man, could you imagine having that conversation with your boss, man? Like, you essentially just said that you failed, right? And so what the book is talking about is do it like do entrepreneurship and management in a different way. So instead of waiting that entire year, you create that first iteration of that product or that service or whatever you're offering and put it out there and get customer feedback and you adjust along the way. So that was the first key point that I got is that entrepreneurship is management. So create a product, put it out there, get feedback, and adjust along the way. Which leads me into the second point of adjust ASAP, adjust ASAP. So as soon as possible. So again, put your product out there and adjust as soon as possible. So the book also compared entrepreneurship to driving a car versus flying a rocket. So when you're driving a car, let's say you have a destination in mind, and you go to that destination like regularly. When you're driving, sometimes like it seems like as soon as you get in your car, and crank it up, then you look up and you at the destination. It's because that we've been used to it for so long. But driving is actually like a complex activity. It takes a lot of collaboration in order to drive a car. Um, for instance, if I told you to close your eyes right now and give me directions on how you get to your job or wherever you're going to a certain destination and do it with your eyes closed and write it down, you won't be able to do it. Like you tell me like how much acceleration do you have to have at this point at certain points. It's hard to do because driving is actually a complex thing, right? Versus flying a rocket. So when you fly a rocket, like every little detail, every minute detail matters. And if you mess up a detail, it could be catastrophic, like 1,000 miles down the road, right? So the book is basically saying that treat entrepreneurship as driving a car rather than flying a rocket, right? Like get the car out there on the road and make adjustments as needed. And those adjustments, like when you're driving the car, are called detours. You know, you might run into something where you gotta take another road and it's a detour. And so let's also those like that's 2 points. So the first point is entrepreneurship is management. Second point is adjust ASAP, adjust ASAP. And so the book also talks about certain definitions. And so let's stick with the car analogy, right? So the book talks about a pivot. So what's a pivot? A pivot is basically a change in strategy, right? So with the car analogy, when you're driving the car down the road and you come to a detour, the detour takes you into another direction. When you go into that other direction, that's called a pivot. So what does that mean for your business? That means when you have your business and you're going and you realize, hey, the strategy that I'm using is not really working, I'm going to change directions and go into I'm going to change course and go into another direction, right? So that's what a pivot is. And so I'm going to break this down even farther a little bit. But let's see there. So I mentioned strategy, right? So the book defines a strategy as a business model, a product roadmap, a point of view about partners and competitors, and ideas about who the customer will be. So that's a strategy, right? The book also mentioned a product, and the product is the end result of this strategy. And the last thing that they mentioned is the vision, right? The vision is the idea that you have in your head about where you want your company to go. So, what's the destination that we want our company to go into, right? And so think of these as a pyramid, right? So the third point is the entrepreneurship pyramid. So you have at the base of the pyramid, you have your vision, right? In the middle of the pyramid, you have your strategy. And at the top of the pyramid, you have your product. So at the bottom of the pyramid is the vision. The vision never changes. For instance, the vision, that wrote it down here. So the vision for for me is to create the largest community of entrepreneurs in the world, right? That's the vision. That vision will never change. And let's move on up on the pyramid to strategy, right? So strategy sometimes changes, right? Sometimes. Remember, I said strategy is the pivot. So the vision is to create the largest community of entrepreneurs in the world, right? That's our vision. That's not going to change. That's the destination. That's where we're headed to. The strategy, however, could change. So one strategy that I have is podcasting, right? So I'm actually getting in the process of starting a podcast. So that is how that's one of the strategies that I'm going to use to create this community, right? But let's say that strategy is not working. So let's say I pivot into and go into another direction, I start putting on events for entrepreneurs, right, in order to build that community, right? My vision didn't change, but my strategy changed. My strategy changed from podcasting to event planning, right? And so let me know if that makes sense to you. So the vision never changed. The vision, the destination is still the same. The strategy on how we got there could change, and the product, which is at the top of the pyramid, it is always changing for optimization, right? So in this case, my product is podcasting, right? And the result from that is the I Got Dreams podcast. That's the name of my podcast, I Got Dreams podcast, right? So that's the product. And based on my customer feedback and the people in my community feedback, I will continue to give different iterations of that product, such as maybe the show format will change. Maybe I have different quality of guests on the show. It's all based on the feedback, the product is always changing. So those are, and it's changing for optimization, not just changing the product, but it's changing to make the product better, right? And so those are the 3 points that I got from this book from the first chapter. I go over again. So, entrepreneurship is management, right? Write it down. Entrepreneurship is management. The second point is adjust as soon as possible. So adjust as soon as possible. Like don't wait until you get to the end or end of the year or wait an insane amount of time and put a product out there and you feel and you realize don't nobody want it. Like, that's a horrible feeling. Can you imagine feeling like that? Like, man, I just spent an entire year creating something and it didn't work out. Like, don't nobody want it. So when you approach entrepreneurship with the lean startup method, it cuts down on, for one, it cuts down on time, it cuts down on money, and it cut a lot of waste out. And so when you put your idea out there as soon as possible, you give people a chance to give you feedback so you can adjust and make your product better, right? And the third and final thing is the entrepreneurship pyramid. So, which is you have the vision at the base, the strategy in the middle, and the product at the top. The vision never changes. The strategy sometimes changes depending on the direction you want to go in, and the product is constantly changing for a better iteration. Um, well, for optimization and a better iteration of that product. So man, that's what I got out of chapter one. It was really great, man, and I'm excited to continue to read this book, right? So what I want you to do is come up with the vision, the strategy, and the product for your business, right? So that's that's what I want you to do before our next session, right? I want you to come up with the vision, the strategy, and the product. And here's what I say: like, of course, write it down, but also come back and comment in here in this video, so everyone can see it. People can encourage you. Again, we are building a community here of entrepreneurs, a community that's going to help each other to grow and learn more about entrepreneurship and get better as business owners, right? And so that is the goal, that is the purpose. And as far as like, the start of this book club, yes, we are starting on live, but we eventually will go into like a small group and actually, chop it up maybe over Zoom or something where you can get my feedback, I can get your feedback, and we can feed off each other, iron sharpen iron. So that's my long-term goal this for this book club, right? Is to create a community of entrepreneurs that's going to help and serve each other in order to get better, right? And so we'll be back on here next Tuesday to discuss chapter two. And chapter two is it's called Define. So who exactly is an entrepreneur? Who exactly is an entrepreneur? So we're gonna get into it next Tuesday. Make sure you read, make sure you study. Hit me up if you need anything, DM me, man. Hey, we about to go and grow to another level out here. But man, I love y'all. Have a blessed and wonderful day. Peace.
Bam. Thank you for listening to this episode. I know you just received a lot of value. So, look, here's what I want you to do now. Go to our social media platforms on YouTube, on Facebook, on Instagram, on TikTok at I Got Dreams Podcast everywhere, and like, comment, subscribe to all those channels, and let's continue the conversation on there. Look, I told you before, we are creating the ultimate accountability group for entrepreneurs, and we want you to be a part of that group. So go ahead, like, comment, subscribe to our channels at I Got Dreams Podcast everywhere, and we'll see you there. Peace.